All right. Well, thank you all for joining us here today. We're here with M. Doffing and Jessica King, who are going to be sharing with us some information about making digital zines accessible. Um, let's see. Yeah, take it away, guys.
Yeah, so thank you so much for having us and hosting and doing all the labor of love that you do to make this happen. We're very excited to be here and be presenting about how to make digital zines accessible for disabled people, especially people who use screen readers. And this workshop, I hope that you have takeaways to inspire your own zine making that'll be accessible to all. And my name is M. Doffing, and I'm very happy to be presenting with Jessica King.
Hi, everyone. It's so nice to meet all of you. Before we really jump into the workshop, we wanted to ask you guys a couple of questions. And of course, our moderator is also welcome to respond to these questions as well. Since we don't have any Zoom polls set up, we will just use the chat feature. Or if you like, you can unmute to respond to these questions. And of course, you're welcome to share as much as you feel comfortable with. This is just for us to have a better understanding of the audience that we're meeting with today. The first question is on a scale of 1 to 5. How familiar are you with making digital zines accessible? And then the second question is, what goals do you have in learning about access strategies for digital zines? So you're welcome to unmute or type in the chat your answers to these questions. We'll just give everyone a quick minute to respond. So far I see 1 and 2. Okay, there was a response. Making zines practically practice what they preach. I love that. I am mostly familiar with alt text, but would like to learn other strategies. I'm going to ask my co-presenter M, on a scale of 1 to 5, how familiar are you with making digital zines accessible?
I would say a 4 just because technology is ever evolving and disabled people are so skilled in making adaptable changes and innovations, inventions that benefit society as a whole, but not just their community. So I'm always willing to learn and get tips from everyone else too. So if there's anything that we don't cover today, but you've gathered that you want to share with others, to be recorded, to share with on YouTube, but also here and everyone here in the space, we're happy to learn from y'all too. What about you, Jessica?
I would also give myself a 4, and my reasoning is because I'm still pretty new to the world of accessibility. I've only really been practicing these practices for the past 7, 8 months, perhaps. And like you said, technology is ever evolving. We just had a conversation about how the softwares we use just changed some of the tools that they have. So there's always something new to learn. And I think that's a really exciting thing about accessibility. Someone responded in chat that their answer to number 1 was 2, and they want to learn how to make comics more accessible. That is a very cool field too. So I think we were just like, it was actually yesterday, we were talking about how to make comics more accessible, especially physical forms. All right, thank you all so much for responding to these pre-workshop questions. Let's go ahead and get into business.
All right. So thank you, Jessica, for overviewing and leading that discussion. I use she, they pronouns. My name is M. So on the slide, I have a picture of myself, a white Hispanic femme person in my 20s with dark brown hair past my shoulders with brown eyes. I'm smiling in the picture wearing a rainbow sequin dress in front of colorful posters that read, "We are proud to celebrate Love Stonewall 50th anniversary." I now have chin-length long hair with a half-shaved head to represent my gender fluid identity. For fun, I love movies and I've seen over 1,200 movies. In fact, I saw Inception yesterday with Jessica in theaters. I have received and earned a Master's of Arts in Psychological Research from California State University in Long Beach. My alma mater at the University of Kansas certified me as the Proactive Disability Ambassador, and I have years of experience as the Disability Justice Research Lab Manager. And I'll turn it over to Jessica.
Hi again. I also use she, they pronouns, and I'm very honored to serve alongside M as the Submission and Accessibility Coordinator for the Dream Zine. I would say I'm probably the newest member of our small but mighty team. I am also the founder and executive director for White Dove Disability Advocacy, which is a very small, very new organization, but with a big mission for disability empowerment. I am currently a graduate student pursuing an MA in Disability Studies at the City University of New York School of Professional Studies. And I actually just graduated last spring from California State University, Long Beach, where I met M. I had received a double bachelor's in creative writing and comparative literature with a double minor in health humanities and human development. I'll let you know if I figure out how in the world I did that. But you can see how my love for narratives, creativity, and disability narratives really contributed to the Dream Museum. On the screen, I have an image of myself, almost full body. In this photo, I am smiling at the camera and holding a bouquet of flowers at my hip. And I was wearing a black shirt with multicolored text that said disability rights are human rights. And not much has changed about me when it comes to physical appearance. I have shoulder length auburn hair and fair skin, and I always wear purple rimmed glasses because that is my favorite color.
So now I would like to introduce you to DREAM, which stands for Disability Rights, Education, Activism, and Mentoring. So DREAM is a national organization for and by disabled college students. It was founded in 2011. DREAM was founded and designed to serve as an online virtual disability cultural center for higher education for all students, for all types, ages, any kind of disability, including culturally deaf students, and as well as non-disabled students who are our allies and peers. We advocate for and actively work towards an intersectional approach to disability culture, community, and pride. We are a peer communication network. We compile helpful information relevant to disabled students. We respond to disability issues that affect higher education at every level. We're also a coalition of local campus groups known as chapters and affiliates, which I'll get into more later. We promote full and well-rounded college participation by disabled people. We then support disability inclusion in higher education curricula. So I'm very excited for our future events that are posted on our website, which I'll share at the end. Together, we bring and build community, inspire activism. So past events that we had was a disabled recent graduates panel or intersectionality panel, which is posted on our YouTube channel. And our upcoming events include a town hall for those interested in starting a chapter and affiliate with Dream, as well as guided tea tasting mindfulness activities, and more on our website.
So with all of these activities and events and the student organizations that we work with, we really push forward the mission of advocating for student rights, increased accessibility, social and policy changes, support and mentorship for students with disabilities and their allies across the United States. We are very fortunate that as one of the only, if not the only, national organizations that focus specifically on disabled students, we really do have a community of college students and disabled leaders who really want to make a difference in disability equity in higher education. And you can always join our network also, which Em will talk about, excuse me, and we'll talk about it now.
Yes, so I recommend everyone to become a Dream member. It's free to become a member, chapter, or affiliate with us, including all of our events, including any supplies that we need for the events. So the only difference between a chapter and affiliate is that affiliates use their own name, such as Tina for This Is Not Accessible, or Disco, or for Disability Community. And a chapter uses Dream in the title, so Dream at blank college or university. So the student group needs to believe in the mission and goals of Dream and cannot focus on curing disability. It has to have at least 3 or more college students and have an advisor for the group. And then it has to be recognized as a group by the campus, although it does not need to be officially enrolled. And then you must have at least one student with disabilities in the leadership position and be located affiliated with your university. So the application is on our website. The application is pretty straightforward, and if you need any help with the application or want to learn more, feel free to contact me, which we'll share at the end of the presentation.
Yes, and we will also share the slides with everyone in attendance, and it will also be included in the recording. So any hyperlinked information on the slides will be accessible for you after the presentation. So I promise you can click on this application link very soon.
Thank you. So I really just want to emphasize that our chapters and affiliates is where Dream really shines. Chapters and affiliates have had a multitude of workshops, such as mental health and disability, inclusive and accessible teaching for professors. For February, they had love, sex, and disability and the intersections of disability and reproductive justice. And of course, we always advocate for self-advocacy. Events have included disability services tabling, excellent in leadership with disabled author Emily Ladeau, virtual art galleries, and an ADA, or Americans with Disabilities Act, open houses. So here are some benefits of joining as a chapter affiliate. Your group will be added to our national virtual events, such as disabled speakers and student panels. Your group would be invited to Dream chapters and affiliate town halls, which happen twice a year, where students network and build connections with one another. So, for example, Tina, the affiliate that I mentioned earlier, shared their accessible advocacy strategy of putting their quote, "This is not accessible," quote, end quote, stickers around campus to raise awareness and to call for change. Also, your group can be featured in our Dream Zine and be spotlighted in our social media, such as Facebook and Instagram. Also, be connected with other disability cultural centers across the nation. So, for example, the University of Illinois at Chicago Disability Cultural Center had an accessible Juneteenth celebration with Chicagoland's Disabled People of Color Coalition. It was a really beautiful event. They had disabled performers, DJs, drummers, poets, and artists. So now we are going to be talking about the Dreamy Zine. So just quickly mentioning the inspiration of the title, it actually came from RuPaul's Drag Race spin-off show Drag U. So U stands for YOU as well as university. So it was started by me and Chloe in our first issue for the spring of 2023. It's a monthly publication highlighting students, cultural centers, student clubs, and media focused on disability justice endeavors and topics, including a advice column that can cover anything from employment to accommodations to self-advocacy to graduate school, etc. Our team thankfully expanded to include the wonderful Jessica King in the winter of 2025 to emphasize the importance of accessibility practices in digital publications. And to access past issues, you can click on this slide. We have 10 issues posted on our website, including the latest one that really celebrates the life of Patty Byrne, the co-founder of Sins Invalid, and the co-author of the Disability Justice Principles. And I'll pass it off to Jessica.
One of the reasons I joined Dream Museum is because as I mentioned earlier, I'm very passionate about disability narratives and just overall creativity. And it is a huge opportunity that I can help Em and the team streamline the process in getting more narratives included in the monthly publications. And we're very happy to share that we are launching a Google form that makes it much easier and accessible for everyone to submit whatever they would like in the mission of disability advocacy in higher education. Every month, we are featuring disability centers, student clubs, and individuals are elevating disabled communities in creative and educational ways. And this has included internship opportunities, featuring books and movies, um, individuals writing advice or about their personal experiences with disability. I know Em and I just talked about next month. I will be talking about what it's like for me as a disabled person to work with disabled students. And it's just a very interesting dynamic that I have with my students. So we have a Google form available at all times. You can submit at any time you want. We will be reviewing submissions every month. And even if you don't quite reach the soft deadline for 1 month, you can always be considered for the next month because we are reviewing applications or not applications, but submissions on a rolling basis. And we will happily communicate with everyone that's interested to see if we are the best fit or or how we can include your contribution to the monthly zine. For October, we are celebrating National Disability Employment Awareness Month, and a lot of our content will include individual disabled people who are working and talking like what their experience is like with being disabled and accessing accommodations in the workplace, or how different career centers have programs specifically for disabled students, or even what it's like trying to develop professional employment skills and what barriers are preventing people from accessing employment. So we're very excited to see what kind of submissions come in, what information we can find, and ultimately just hoping to continue elevating disabled representation in the workforce. You're welcome to scan or click on the QR code to access the submission form. You can scan it on your phone so you can scroll through and see what it looks like. It's broken down into sections, so it's not so overwhelming. But it does save as long as you're connected to the internet, so you don't need to worry about losing progress. Or you can click on it later on once you have access to the slides and you can view it on your computer.
All right, wonderful. So now we're going to get to the meat of the presentation, which will be divided up into accessibility features in Canva as well as PowerPoint. So just to start off with Canva, I do want to quickly note that this isn't necessarily the right or correct order. You may design your zines in any process that fits you best. We also want to strongly emphasize that this is not a checklist, but more so actions that you can take to make sure that your zines are accessible to all, that we really commit ourselves in our work to proclaiming access is love, as has been made known and um, has also been spearheaded by Alice Wong, Sandy Ho, and Mia Mingus, all queer activists of color. So the first tip we have is to include page titles. So for example, your first page of your zine can be cover page. And then later on, for example, we have opportunities available to disability cultural work as well as work that would be remote and paid for disabled college students. So with that, we would title each page opportunity, and then with the opportunity. With page titles, you want to be concise but unique to each page. That way, that when someone has a screen reader, they can peruse each of the pages without having to read every single page before getting to where they want to focus on in the zine. This is especially helpful if you have long zines like ours, which tend to be over 20 pages at least. So we also recommend using plain language. So this would be language that would not be used in that would be used in everyday conversation. It's language that avoids jargon, basically words that have lengthy definitions or complexities to them. And also you want to simplify the information that you have so it's understandable to your readers. And then we also recommend having a table of content, especially if you have longer zines or if it's within the type of zine that you're creating. So for example, we have our table of contents to be broken down with each section of our group. So spotlights of student activism, spotlights of chapters and affiliates, um, media resource centers. Each of those have their own section in the table of contents, and each have their own text box as well. So with that, we also recommend having multiple text boxes. This helps break up the information into digestible sections for the screen reader to use, and also make sure that you don't have a wall of text on one page. And then I also want to talk about the visual aesthetics of your zine. So you'll have the option to mark some images as decorative, and the other images should have a message behind them. So when I mean message, I mean, for example, on one page, we have a picture of the Dream U team in their graduation cap and gowns for the May issue. And the message is that we are slowly but surely changing and fighting for more inclusive education for disabled college students to graduate and to succeed with their degree and their gained knowledge from university or college. So that would be one have a message behind it and not be marked as decorative. And then with that, you also want to make sure that your images are big enough so it can be seen from far away. One tip you can use for that is putting your zine in gallery mode on your laptop and then seeing how clearly you can see each picture and the message you're getting across. So, for example, for our May issue, we had a cover page of Judy Human, a huge disability activist, and was spearheading the largest occupancy in U.S. history of a federal building known as the Section 504 sit-in. She's speaking to a group of disabled college students as the Disabled and Proud conference that we had a few years ago, and we had three pictures. We decided to just keep one picture because it was hard to see that Judy Human was highlighted as the speaker. You want to make, and she was the message behind the picture and why we're including it. So we wanted to make sure that that was the focal point. Um, we also recognize and recommend using camel casing. So, say you have a hashtag such as Access is Love, which activists have proclaimed, then you want to have each word capitalized with just the first letter because there's no spaces in between them for a hashtag. So, when there's no spaces, the screen reader assumes that it is one word and will read out a jumbled gibberish. But if you have it capitalized with the first letter for each word, then it can read out Access is Love. And this is also true for phrases that also don't have spaces or dashes in between them. Next, I would like to talk about image descriptions. So for image descriptions, you can have it be visible in the zine or have it embedded into the picture. For images that need some context or images, we recommend having visible on the page just so you can make sure that it is seen by everyone, not just those using screen readers. And with that, you want to make sure that it's concise but keeps the overall purpose of the picture. So, as I talked about our graduation gear and changing the dire statistics about disabled college students graduating, um, we took that time to celebrate with images. Now, image descriptions are different from alt text in that alt text is shorter than image descriptions because more concise. So, say you have a social media post and for some reason the images aren't popping up. So, in alternative, the alternative text should appear to describe the image as well as the key focal points. So it's important to highlight what is the focal point of the image rather than describing the entire image in detailed specificity. You want to just give enough where it gives the readers context that they can gain from the image from a long glance. Also, um, with the font type, you can make sure that if you zoom out, that it's readable from a far distance. You also want to avoid using all caps for the same reason that I stated with the camel casing for the titles, if possible, depending on the font type. You also want to make sure that curly text or cursive text is enough for people who aren't familiar with cursive writing can still be able to read. Also, you want to keep in mind the font size when you're choosing the font type because you don't want the font type to be too distracting from the content included. Next, I want to talk about color contrast. So there's websites that we have linked into this site, the slide, about how to check for color contrast. So color contrast is especially useful for people who say are colorblind in the sense that it adds enough difference between the colors and hues of, say, the image and the text with the um, background. So when that happens, you want to specify the color and hue of the color of the text and the background. You want to specify the size because the bigger the size, the less contrast you'll need, but the smaller you'll need more contrast, as well as the type of font if it allows for that as well. Next, I'd like to talk about tinyurl, which is a free website. So tinyurl is a way to take longer hyperlinks and shorten them with an alias at the end. So, for example, if you have a film screening coming up and you want to advertise it with a registration link, the Zoom will likely have a bunch of letters and random numbers included at the end of the tiny URL, of the regular URL, but you can transform it into a tiny URL that can read tinyurl.com/film discussion, and then you can specify the film because you will need to specify the alias because some are already taken. And then lastly, for Canva, QR codes need to be big enough where it can take up a good amount of the page so people can see it in detail for their phones or other devices that they're scanning with. You want to make sure that the website is visible as well in case the QR code does not work. And then you can also embed the hyperlinks into the QR code and so people can quickly click on it if they're using a device to view it. So that was a lot of information, and I just want to do a check-in with everyone to see if anyone has any questions, comments, or anything else that they would like to add for um, their advice. Oh, and then Jessica, did I forget anything with the Canva workshop that you would like us to mention? I just want to do a check-in real quick.
I think we touched on everything. I had just missed the cue for sharing the Canva, which I do apologize for. If anyone would like us to go back and do a walkthrough again as Em explains it, feel free to let us know because sometimes my neurodivergence cues don't come to me very well.
I think you did a great job, and yeah, technology, it is what it is. Um, I guess like the last thing I want to mention with the table of contents, I forgot to mention, but I did mention with the QR code, is that you can also hyperlink to the specific page within the document for the table of contents. So someone can just click on, say, the word opportunities and jump to grants or internships or paid internships or other great career and life enhancing opportunities that are available for disability work and disability inclusion. Yeah, okay. All right, so we have some questions.
I'll read the question out loud.
Okay, thank you.
For our zines, do we want to convert them to a document that could be designed in Canva, or is this something that could be done via PDF too?
Oh, that's a wonderful question. So we recommend Canva because there are free aspects. So all of this you can use with the free aspects of Canva. You don't need premium because accessibility and the wonderful work and powerful work that activists have accomplished and earned and fought for to make sure that accessibility is a priority for website for both virtual and in-person spaces. So we recommend using Canva first, downloading it as a PowerPoint because Canva has all these features except for the reading order, which is really crucial for screen readers. So, and then we transform it into a PDF. So it may seem like a long process, but that way it's just to make sure that you click all your bases. Um, it is possible to do it in PDF, which will walk you through a PowerPoint. It has the same, like it has the same features that you can like walk through, like the buttons you can press to get to that point. It's just it's just easier to use. We find that it's been easier to use Canva for these things because of the different steps you need to take for it. It's more streamlined in Canva rather than PDF formats. Do you have any thoughts, Jessica?
Yeah, I will say I find Canva, in my personal experience, to be more user-friendly when it comes to most access tools. It is meant for graphic designing, and granted, Microsoft Point is as well, but it's more technical than we need it to be. Whereas on Canva, we can really focus on the artistic aspects complemented by the access tools. So this is why we decided this process for our monthly publications because Canva has the majority of what we need to produce digital zines. And then we use Microsoft PowerPoint to uh, clean things up and making sure that we have the reading order down because, as Anne mentioned, it is still important to have that for screen readers. When we do not have elements or text boxes in correct order, it can confuse the screen reader. It's going to read everything in the wrong order. And so the screen reader user will not receive the information the same way that others might who have sight. So it's very important that when you use any sort of software, whether it be Microsoft PowerPoint, Canva, Adobe, or anything else, I'm not a graphic designer major, so I don't know what else is out there. It's very important that whatever you use, you're familiar with what access tools they have and whether that is enough for you for the target audience that you're meeting with.
Okay, wonderful. So I think that's a great segue into the PowerPoint workshop portion. So like we stated, Canva unfortunately does not have the reading order. So this goes along with the multiple text boxes that I recommend using in Canva because the reading order will help you make sure that each chunk is read out loud by the screen reader in a way that people can skip to each text box if they need to, that each one can be described in the pane for the reading order, which Jessica will show soon, and then also just give overall a flow to your work. So we all know that with our layouts, usually it is read from left to right, top from bottom, but the screen reader doesn't necessarily know which order to read that from or to abide by those traditional glances. So with the reading pane, you can go to review and then check accessibility. So check accessibility is really great too because it allows you to know where accessibility still needs to be um, included. So for example, if you're missing an image description or an alt text for an image, then it will pick that up and tell you to do so. And that's the alerts that you want to make sure that you address. So when you also do the reading order, you want to make sure to ungroup any items that may be grouped together, say when you group them to make them easier to move in Canva. Ungrouping them allows each of them to be described as well as any, say, miscellaneous things like an empty text box forgot to delete gets included as well or deleted if not necessary. Um, and then you can move by clicking and dragging each of the images or text boxes in the correct reading order. So we show the table of contents because it has two columns, including an image that we have read out loud. This is also a great way to check if your images are decorative or not. So sometimes when you're writing an image description in Canva and marking things in decorative as Canva, when you get to PowerPoint, you can see that the reading order is long and or short, and that's also a way to know if you need to break your information up into multiple pages as well, because you don't want to cram too much into one page for screen readers. Okay. Does anyone have any questions about PowerPoint by any chance? And Jessica, did I forget anything about PowerPoint?
I gotta drop my jar in the off mic. All right. Oh my goodness, I already messed it up. Drop a coin in the off mic jar. There we go. No, that's really about it. That's all we've really used PowerPoint for because as we talked about earlier, Canva contains the majority of our access tools that we use, and it's much easier to navigate, in my opinion. So we really use PowerPoint because we value the discuss philosophies of access is love and labor of love. So we are willing to put in the extra effort of utilizing additional software We would use a third software if we had to, like Adobe or something else, if that's what it took to make our zines more accessible and increase our audience to all disabled people, because everyone deserves to access the same information, creativity, and opportunities that non-disabled and able-bodied people can access.
Yeah, well said. So I think we can now move on to our post-workshop questions. So we'll use the chat again, and we have 3 questions. Do you want to take it over, Jessica?
Sure. As we wrap up our presentation for today, I would like to say thank you all so much for spending the past almost hour with us, but it's been about 45 minutes. Um, we're going to explain in a moment why we are asking these questions and requesting responses. In the meantime, the first question is, what are your key takeaways from this workshop? The second question is, would you be interested in future access strategies workshops, such as this one? And the third question, would you be interested in a free online guidebook on creating digital zines? And you could totally be honest with us.
And then I also want to say that we just put our survey in the chat. So this is really helpful for us to improve our workshop for other community members, but then also to include in our reports and application for grants to keep our funding. So it's a very short survey, takes 2 minutes probably at max, depending on how many comments you want to put. And definitely thank you for everyone who fills that out.
Okay, so responding, my key takeaway is the importance of reading order in PDF design for their comments or comics. And then for 2 and 3 is yes. We also got yes for 2 and 3 from another individual. I think there's a lot of enthusiasm in the room, which makes me very happy. While I give everyone another minute to respond to the questions, the reason that we're asking is because Em and I are in the process of developing the foundational work of creating an online guidebook for creating digital zines. So all the information that we're presenting through this series of workshops that we've been hosting, we're responding and listening to the community and understanding where the needs are, where the interests lie, and how we can best meet them. So we're very hopeful that as we continue hosting these workshops, that we're able to receive more feedback from attendees like you and create an online guidebook that will be online, accessible, and free for everybody. We will not charge or put any price tag on it because we believe in the labor of love, and we just share the enthusiasm and passion for all digital scenes being accessible for everybody.
So now want to talk about our contact info. So we would definitely recommend you staying in contact with us. We'll share Dream's contact info in just a minute. So my email is dream@ahead.org, and then my LinkedIn is after Emily Doffing. And you can definitely see the past posts in the Dream U zine on our LinkedIn, and then I'll pass it off to Jessica.
Thank you so much. I have linked my link tree because that is essentially my that's like the #1 go-to place in order to contact me or keep an eye on my activities once I actually get back into posting on social media. But you'll find my Instagram, my LinkedIn, probably my Blue Sky, even though I've hardly used it at all. I promise I will get better at it. Everything is under my name, Neuro Sunflower. If you would like to contact me, my email is also on the link tree, is neurosunflower@gmail.com. So we are very happy to receive responses, whether it be questions, feedback, maybe you have ideas for us or you would like to collaborate, we're always happy to communicate with the community members. And yeah, I think Em and I share the same excitement when we do receive those emails.
100%. So now here's our contact info for our social media. So for Dream, LinkedIn and Facebook, it's Dream Disability Rights, Education, Activism, Mentoring. Our Instagram, which is our most popular, is Dream Disability. And then our website is dreamcollegedisability.org. You can also reach us on our website, the National College Students with Disabilities website, nccSD.ici.University of Minnesota in, so umn.edu/contact us. So if you ever have problems with say your college or university with accommodations or discrimination, always feel free to reach out to us and our trained staff will get back to you. And then also we have the QR code for our presentation, which will also be included with the recording. The slides, you can scan or click all of our QR codes for the resources we have included. All right.
I'm just putting our links in the chat
Oh,
so
thank you.
everyone can click
Yeah,
on them if they like.
thank you. And then does anyone else have any other questions or comments? We definitely want to hear from y'all. I'm gonna mute myself because my cat is using her cat tree. So
I'm just saying maybe you should show us the cat.
oh, she walked away, or else I would. All right. Well, I think that's everything. So, thank you so much for dedicating your time and energy on this Sunday to join us, and look forward to seeing your zines in the future.
Awesome.
Thank you so much,
Well,
everyone.
yeah. Thank you so much, Em and Jessica, for joining us and sharing your expertise with us. Um, we have a couple more sessions this evening at 6 p.m. We have 6 p.m. Eastern Time. Tiffany Fox will be sharing her zines with us in her vendor stream. And then after that, Laura Chenault will be sharing some zine making tutorials. So if you guys can, you can make it out there. Yeah, thank you so much.